here we have the inside of the Auto-Trail Tribute T715. If we firstly come to the main control panel, just here, you'll see that we can turn the 12 volt on and off just on this button here. Beside this, we then have battery selection, so you'll see L for leisure battery and V for vehicle battery. If I now press the leisure battery, it will give us a condition of it just here. And then if I press the vehicle, it will then switch over to it and give us a condition of the vehicle battery. Whichever battery you've selected on here is the battery you are running the back end of the motorhome on. But secondly, whichever battery you've selected here whilst you're hooked up to the main supply is the battery you are charging. Beneath this section, we then have the water pump. So water pump on just like so, and it will then give us how much water is in the fresh tank. The water pump needs to be on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. And then lastly, we do actually have water level button just here. Beside it, we just have awning light on and off. And then down here we have 12 volt socket, a television aerial fly lead in just here, and a main socket. And then tucked down here we have the step switch. The step will automatically put itself away if it's been left out when the ignition is started. If we now move to this overhead locker just here, we will find the consumer unit. So we have here the main strip switches. So we have the 3 individual MCBs, the main RCD and test button just here, and you'll see that they are all labelled up. So if something's not working on main supply, just come to this point here and see whether or not you've tripped. And then we also have the 12 volt fuses just here, and again these are all labelled up as well. Battery charger on and off up the top here. Obviously we want this on when we're hooked up to be charging the batteries. All of the spotlights have their own individual switches. You'll find a switch just tucked underneath here which just does this overhead top lighting. If we now just remove the cushions from this bench seat just here, you will now see the location of the leisure battery. So we have the main 12 volt fuse just here, and then if I just remove the cover just here, you will see the leisure battery. If we now come to the Dometic fridge freezer, on and off just here. If I now press this button just here, we can run the fridge on mains electricity when we're hooked up. If we do not have main supply, we can run on gas. These particular fridges automatically light themselves. If it fails to light, it will begin to bib at you, and this little symbol here will flash red. If you think it may just be down to the fact that there may be some air in the system, you can attempt to light it again just by pressing this button just here. It does tell you about it just on this little sticker here. And then lastly, we have 12 volt maintain for when we're driving. So if I press this at the moment, it will beep at us because the engine isn't running. Temperature control just here, and then to open, just push down. We have the removable freezer box just here. We have this little part here, if you just push your finger in slightly and then slide it out, will allow you to hold the door on ajar for when you're not using the motorhome. We have the microwave just here that works off main supply, plugged in the overhead locker just here. This is an eco microwave, so you do just need to press the eco button just here and it will then wake it up. Then we have all the normal quick start, stop just here. It's always advisable to remove contents for travel. Next we have the hob, 3 gas rings, just push in, twist and push the igniter. And then beneath this we have the oven and the grill. Push in to the left for the oven. And to the right for the grill. Beneath we have storage. You will also find in here there is a plug which is just for the fridge, and then also in here we have some gas isolation taps. They are all in the on position and quite frankly stay like that. I always say if you do smell gas in the van, go to the gas bottle and isolate it just there. Above my head just here we have the Omnivent fan. To operate this, firstly wind the roof vent open. Once you've then done this, you can then turn it on and you'll see you have arrows out for extraction and arrows in for cooling, and it's variable fan speed just by pressing. Do make sure that the roof vent is down again for travel. Freestanding table just in here. And then we have the fire just here. If you're going to use the unit on gas, just come to the dial here and twist it round. It will begin to tick. If you then hold down, it will then light. Once it's lit, it will stop ticking, which is a good indication. You can also try and peer for the pilot light, as you can see just there. Once it's lit, control the temperature just by turning. You can also activate the circulation fan, which will then allow air to blow out of all the air ducts around the motorhome. You have on the top just here a top dial and a bottom dial. You'll see at the moment that we're on O for off. If I now flick it to M for manual, that will turn the fan on, and then we control the fan speed on the top just here. If it's a warm day and you just want to circulate the air, you can pop it onto this one just here. A stands for automatic and is not applicable to this particular motorhome. You do have to have another thermostat added. This circulation fan can also be used if you are running the electric element in this fire instead of using it on gas. So if we now just turn this off for a second and we now come around to this section just here, you'll see we have this dial here which says ultra heat, which is for the electric element in that fire. Again, it has an inner dial and an outer dial, and again we're on O for off. We have 3 power settings, so if I now flick it up, we're now running the fire on 2 kilowatts. If I flick it back to off and then go down, we're running it on 500 watts. or if I flick it down again, 1 kilowatt. This allows us to pick a power setting mainly to avoid tripping if we're on a low amp site. Control the temperature on the inner dial here, with 1 being the coolest, 9 being the hottest. Above it we just have hot water on gas. So firstly we need to make sure that we've removed the flue cover from the outside, and then you'll see it's a rocker switch, so in the middle it's off. If I flick it up, it will heat the water to about 50 degrees, and if we flick it down, it will heat the hot water to about 70 degrees. If it fails to light, a red light will appear. If this happens, it's usually down to the fact that you forgot to take the flue cover off, you forgot to turn the gas bottle on, or it has depleted itself, or there may be a small amount of air in the system, and then just turn it off and then try again. If we want hot water on main supply, we need to come underneath the bed just here. So if we just raise it up, you'll see just down here we have 2 switches. You'll see that one is actually on at the moment, and it will say on here ultra heat, and that is for that electric element in the fire. We can leave this one turned on all the time. It will go off when we unplug from the main supply anyway. The one we do need to be turning off and on is this one here that says ultra store, and that is for the boiler on main supply. So if we want hot water on mains, all we need to do is just flick this switch here, and it will then heat up the hot water. Unlike on gas where you've got 2 water temperatures, this will just roughly heat it up to about 60 degrees. Also under the bed we have the boiler itself just here, and we have the boiler drain just here. So to drain the boiler down for winterization, we just come to this little yellow lever just here. We make sure the water pump is turned off, and then we flap it up like so, and then all the water will drain out. To refill it back up again, flap it back over, fill up the fresh water tank, turn the water pump on, and then it will begin to prime it. It's always then advisable to then open the taps around the motorhome. I usually start off by turning them to hot, wait until they're running freely, because they will cough and splutter as they force the air out. Once they're running free, then turn them to cold, and then turn them off again once they're running freely. Sometimes it's then also advisable to flush the toilet a few times, because you can sometimes get an airlock in there as well, and then the water pump should turn itself off. The water pump is located just in the corner here. If we now come to the wardrobe, in here we have the television aerial. So we have the digital amplifier just at the back here, on and off, just on the top up there with that little grey switch. And as you can see on this particular one, it has a signal finder. So as long as you've got a nice solid green light there, you know you've got a strong signal. To put the mast up and down, just undo the collar just here, and then push the mast up, and then lock it back into place. Never over tighten these collars because you can split them. If you do need to do additional tuning, you can turn this little tail here and flip it on its side. Also in here we have the solar panel regulator. We do not need to do anything with this, it will just smart charge the battery. And you can also see you've got 2 USB charge points just there as well. If we now come into the washroom, we have the basin just here and the toilet. So the bowl does swivel all about. to open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever just here and then push to flush. Level indicator just here, so this will rotate round to red when the cassette needs emptying. Do make sure that this is closed back up again, or otherwise the cassette will not remove from the outside. We then have the shower just here. Do make sure that the shower screen is clipped back for travel, and the light switch is just located above the basin just here. And then we also have beside the door just here additional storage just here.